and came in like, what, Mark Chain, hey, you know, and everyone's like, oh my God, that's it. So, you know, yeah, I use that example for Greg all the time.
So you're working.
I love you so much. Yes.
Well, it sucks that you guys don't get along.
I know.
No, we do not.
Well, I love it. Well, I guess in the same vein as voice acting, Gray, the characters you brought to life before Mandy were very high energy, like not always the nicest characters, but very high energy,
Yes.
like an exciting energy to them. And it feels like it'd be such a pivot to then go on to voice a character so monotonous in tone and vibes. And much darker than anything you've done previously. So was there anything you pulled from that influenced the way you approached this character in the booth?
It was so hard to do, Mandy. Sometimes people ask me, what's one of the harder parts you've played? And and they always expect me to say something really like, you know, like Vicky or something like, no, I could do that in my sleep. It was so hard to just pull back, because I'm a hyperactive person anyway with ADHD, and I'm just like, but I also don't, did I tell you the thing? But yeah, and that's just how I am. I'm just always just vibrating at a higher. So the director kept going, less, great, less.
That's what I remember
less.
is the note was always great, but less.
Yes, I know. So I would start getting up here, and they're like, no, and then I'd have to bring her way down here, and pretty soon I was just sort of pushing air through my lungs because she had to be way down here. But it's hard. It's still hard. Yeah.
That's amazing. Well, Richard, I love what you did with Billy, especially because, I mean, the amount of weird noises and vocal greatness that exited your mouth in these episodes is something to be, I mean, trifled with. Like,
He was
incredible.
throwing up. He was throwing up. Vocal greatness is exiting his mouth.
Yeah, right, just vocal.
Yeah. So, like, similar to Gray, it was quite the character to tackle. So what was your process when approaching this character?
You know, I always looked at wrestling. I mean, I always looked at Billy as like a puppy. Like, ooh, what's that? What's that? What's that? Yeah. So it was like a puppy. And because Billy's age was somewhat ambiguous in the beginning, I think we finally settled on around 8, right?
I purposefully never really nailed it down.
Yeah.
But yeah, 8. It was the
Somewhere
age
in
group
the-
of the
Yeah.
audience, 8 to 12 or whatever.
So it's just like it was an ambiguous age, so everything was like, yeah, what's that? Say, Mandy. But my favorite thing about Billy was that, like, every now and then he would, like, one of my favorite lines that people have asked me to sign this weekend, which takes forever, is, am I the only one who appreciates the cinematic, understands the cinematic masterpiece? It's not stupid, you're stupid. Those moments are like Billy's like, oh, he's not as dumb as he's pretending to be.
Yeah.
Everyone go to his table and ask for him to write that, please.
No, it takes way too long. Costs $1 million.
Worth it. Well, so I love always hearing about people's stories in the booth. So did you guys record it all in person? Mm-hmm. Was that recorded in person?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Okay.
it was all ensemble, so we would, everybody in the show for that day, if we could get them, we would just cram them in the booth together, and there'd just be people leaning over people, and
Which is completely rare these days.
Yeah.
It's I can't remember I think the last session that Gray and I did with a radio record was we were all on Zoom because we did Loud House.
Okay.
And we're all in our little squares on Zoom.
And he was like, he texted me because I couldn't
Yeah.
see his square.
Yeah.
So he just
Yeah.
texted me like, what are you doing
doing?
right now? Yeah, and I was like, thank God I told the truth.
Yeah, exactly.
I love it.
They used to tease me because one time I had to take my husband to the airport in LAX, and that's really far away. It's like traffic in LA is horrible. But when I left the house, I was like, I've got plenty of time. I'm just gonna go in my pajamas. I'll have plenty of time to go back home and change. And then I'm like, oh no, like in so much traffic, going, oh my God, I'm just gonna have to go straight to work in my pajamas. I'm just gonna have to. So then I showed up
did.
in my pajamas, and they all teased me. Then they said, hey, Gray, next Friday we're all gonna wear our pajamas, and it'll be pajama day. And I was like, oh my God, that's a great idea. Okay. So I wore my pajamas, and they tricked me. No one was wearing their pajamas. Again, they got to tease me for being the only one in my pajamas, and that's the kind of fun casting.
We were wearing tuxedos.
I love it. Well, there's good things and bad things to recording on Zoom nowadays. You can just wake up, no makeup, just clothing that should not see the light of day. I love it.